Today on The Young and the Restless, Claire wants Nikki to meet her aunt. Victoria pines for Nate, and Adam and Victor hash things out. At Crimson Lights, Sharon gets a happy update on Chance from Elena. Nick comes in and Sharon tells him Chance was shot, but he'll be okay. Sharon complains that the promotion was supposed to keep him out of the line of fire. Elena told her he's stable. Nick hadn't heard it on the news as he's been dealing with family stuff. Sharon tells him Summer was at the hospital. Nick knew they'd been getting friendlier. He's surprised she went to the hospital though. Sharon asks what's going on with the family. Nick updates her that Victor's mental lapse was all a ruse. Sharon asks, who walked into the trap? Or do I already know? Nick says it wasn't Adam. Nate's the traitor. Sharon can't believe it. Nick says he's been saying from the beginning that he couldn't be trusted. He wanted to get his dad out of the way so Victoria could take control and he could be second in command. Sharon learns what Nate's plan was and suggests he may have thought it was truly the best solution. Nick argues the point and reveals that Victor fired Nate. Sharon asks, what happens next? Nick hedges, I need to talk to you about that. Israeli hostage sister on a public speech about the hostage crisis. Nick explains that his dad wants him to return to Newman. Sharon asks if he's considering it. Nick says Victoria's not in any position to make decisions right now, and he's sure Adam will do something to turn this to his advantage. Sharon asks, what are you really trying to tell me, Nick? Nick says his dad doesn't have any allies right now. Sharon realizes he's considering going back. Victoria finds Nikki in her office. Her mother is exhausted. Victoria smirks that it must be draining keeping such a heinous secret from them all. Nikki knows she's upset, but they'll have to talk about it tomorrow. Victoria asks why. What will it change? She rants about her father having so little faith in her and her mother letting him do it. Nikki let him know how much he disagreed with it. Victoria hollers, how could you let Dad trick us like that? They bicker about Nate. Victoria fumes, this is about what you did to me. She was worried sick about her dad. Nikki says Victor insisted she not be told until the time was right. Victoria rails, I thought I was going to lose my father. How could you do that to me? Nikki didn't want to go along with this, but Victor convinced her if she knew the truth, she would go straight to Nate. I hope your eyes have been opened. You understand that you can never trust Nate, right? Victoria doesn't want to talk about Nate anymore. Nikki feels she needs to face his betrayal. Victoria asks why Dad is always right without question. Nikki says Nate had an agenda. Where do things stand now? Claire enters and tells Nikki there's a call and it's an emergency. Nikki asks Victoria not to do anything rash as she leaves. Closing the door, Nikki asks Claire, what has you so upset? Adam enters Victor's office and closes the door. You never gave me an answer before. Nate's out, you want Nick to come back and work for Newman Enterprises, so where does that leave me? Victor hasn't decided yet. He tells Adam that he suspected it would be him who took advantage of his mental decline. Having said that, he's happy he didn't betray him. In fact, son, you protected me. I appreciate that. Adam will be straight with him too. He told him that he wanted to start at the bottom and work his way up. It was all a lie from the beginning. It hurt when he dismissed him from the joint venture with Nick and Sharon, and he wanted revenge. Once he was back into the family company, he would find a way to tear it apart. Victor had his suspicions, and then I started to think about how I'd hurt you over the years and how many times I'd let you down. Adam says he wanted to be a member of the family and the company, this amazing entity that you've built. Instead, he held on to hurt and rage, until Victor started exhibiting upsetting behavior. Then it all changed. Victor asks, in what way? Adam explains that when he thought he was losing his grasp on reality, his plan no longer mattered. He couldn't think about anything but trying to protect him and hoping to help him get better. He hasn't had the time with him that Nick and Victoria had, so I wasn't ready to lose you. Victor asks if he's upset that he set a trap. Adam thinks it was a masterful move and it was warranted. He, Victoria, and Nate all had reasons to exploit his illness for personal gain. Victoria is ruthless just like him and Nate's agenda was obvious. Victor grins, you think like your father. Adam understands why he doesn't find him trustworthy, but he still wants to know, what happens to me now? Victor asks if Adam is still interested in working his way up from the bottom. Adam chuckles that he doesn't need to do that. He's run this company, and it was just a clever ruse. He was the one with the smart solution to his problem. At the very least, he deserves Nate's position. Victor muses that the problem is that Victor's still his number two, and he doesn't want the friction around him. You and Victoria need to work out your differences. Adam sarcastically says that's easy enough. What about Nick? Victor still need to know where he stands. Adam thinks he'll always be third in line to the throne. They'll always outrank him no matter how many times he proves himself. With that, Adam walks out. At Crimson Lights, Sharon knows that Nick always looks out for his family. Nick feels like it's his job. Sharon understands it's a part of who he is. Nick hasn't decided yet, but he wanted to talk to her about it. I don't want to leave you in the lurch. Sharon says Kirsten is ready for a relaunch and she's good. She'd like to keep going with partners, but she can do it on her own. You need to do what's best for you and your family. Nick appreciates her support, it means the world to him. God help me, I really feel that Newman and my father need me right now, Sharon tells him. Then do what you have to do. In Nikki's office, Claire tells Nikki that her aunt fell at her lake house and broke her arm. There's no one full-time to look after her. Nikki tells Claire to take all the time she needs. Claire adds, "There's something else I should probably tell you about her." Claire isn't sure how she'll react, and it's a little embarrassing. Aunt Jordan is your biggest fan. Nikki is surprised but flattered. Claire says she was actually coming to visit this weekend and hoping to meet her. But now, of course, with the broken arm, Nikki says she won't be here anyway. She's meeting up with her sister in Napa to surprise her. In fact, here's an idea. Why don't I give you a ride on the Newman jet? She won't take no for an answer. Claire thanks her, and she knows it's terrible, but she has another favor to ask. Claire would like her to stop in and meet her aunt when she drops her off, maybe for a cup of tea. Nikki supposes she could, but it would have to be quick. Claire thanks her again for being so understanding. My Aunt Jordan is absolutely right. Coming to work for you is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Adam greets Nick when he gets off the elevator at Newman. They go over Adam not being the traitor. Adam guesses Nick's not unhappy that Nate's gone. Nick admits it. He's relieved that Adam didn't use their dad's illness against him, but everyone expected it, which says a lot. Nick tells Adam that his behavior is decent right now, but they both know that can change on a dime. Adam gets that Nick doesn't trust him, because when you and Victoria screw up there has to be extenuating circumstances. You're forced into it, but when I screw up it's inevitable. Nick wants to stop talking. Adam tells him Victor's not in the office, he left for the day. He wonders if Nick's there to tell him he's coming back to Newman. Nick says it's between him and their dad. I prefer to keep you guessing about my plans. Victoria walks into the jazz lounge and orders a wine at the bar. She flashes to her last meeting with Nate and telling him she wants to fight for them. She pulls out her phone and looks at his contact info on her phone. She texts him that she wants to work through this. Nick appears and asks who's not texting her back. Victoria admits Nate isn't answering. Nick tells her to let it go. Victoria believes Nate, and she warns Nick he won't be able to talk her out of it. She's just wondering what's next. They wonder if they'd want him back at Chancellor Winter's. Victoria asks if he's talked to Dad anymore. Nick went by the office but only ran into Adam. Victoria worries that their father will make him her assistant. Nick shrugs, who knows? Victoria asks where Nick is leaning. Are you coming back to the family company? At Newman Media, Victor asks if Nikki's ready to go home. She complains about him setting the family on fire. We have to talk about this. They sit, and Nikki tells him Victoria is furious. I want you to be prepared. Victor's not surprised, but feels his setting the trap was productive. She just needs time to work this out. Nikki hopes so, but is worried he could lose her. Victor's sure she'll never leave the company. He wants to go home and enjoy their time together. Nikki updates him on Claire's emergency and says her aunt is quite a fan of hers. She offered to take her on the jet while she goes to see Casey. I agreed to go in and meet the woman. She worries she shouldn't leave town with the family in upheaval. It's a surprise and Casey doesn't know I'm coming. Victor wants her to go and have a good time with her sister and bask in the admiration of Claire's aunt. Nikki thanks him with an "all right, darling," and Victor kisses her hand.